What's up, everybody? I'm Katie, and this is For Your Misinformation, a podcast about why we can't have nice things, whose fault it is, and what we can do about it. Because, let's be honest, we deserve better. Hey, everyone. I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of flustered right now. I set up, I don't know if you can hear the cat in the background. I can. She won't stop. But I set up outside on our screen porch, which is like my favorite place to be when it's nice out. There's a bunch of plants out there. Like no bugs can get in because it's screened and it's shaded. It's like the best place to be. And I set up to record the podcast out there, and then my neighbor started mowing his lawn. So I had to come back inside, which is not that big of a deal, except we have 3 like distinct sets of cats right now. And they don't like each other, so you have to like go through a series of doors with like a bunch of stuff, including a bunch of cords, which the kittens love to play with. So I had to like separate everybody, make sure all the doors. It was a lot, but I'm not gonna lie, I've been in a pretty good mood lately. It was so good to see Morgan last weekend. I sent her home with some sedum burrows tail to propagate because I'm propagating some here, and I thought that would be fun. And then also she went home with another plant that's like, and I have a cutting of that I will pot. So I'm excited. I love plant stuff. We went to the plant store, although we only got there like 10 minutes before it closed, so we went like in and out. Looking for a plant. Like I was trying to find a plant that she couldn't overwater, and I think we did. It's called, so I think that plant is called, that's a wandering Jew, but I don't think that is what you're supposed to call it, but I don't know what you are supposed to call it. So if you do, let me know. It's the one that's like purple and silver and like shiny in the light. But what I would really like to talk about today is, I guess as usual, starting with like a democracy vibe check. I don't know how to feel. It's complicated, and like I guess I should have expected this, but this week 35 Republicans in the House voted in favor of the January 6th commission, which is like good-ish news, like there were 10 in the House who voted not to overturn the election results. Now there are 35 voting in favor of the commission. There's 211 Republicans in the House of Representatives. So like, let's not get too excited because it's 35 out of 211. But right after the insurrection, only 4.7 Republicans in Congress were willing to like go against what the rest of their party was doing and vote against overturning the election results. So that's like Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, Jamie Herrera Butler. But now the 35 voting for the January 6th commission, that's 16.5%. So that, that's more. Like, let's celebrate the wins. I'm excited about that. One like really interesting thing that I noticed. So in Illinois, unsurprisingly, Adam Kinzinger did vote for the January 6th commission, which, by the way, like, let's talk about how, for real, like, leadership in the Republican Party is just like your shittiest ex-boyfriend. Like, they basically said, like, hey, this is like Mitch McConnell, hey, if you do this, this, and this, if you make it so that the commission is 50-50, even though, like, oh my God, Democrats made so many concessions, and then Republicans were like, you know what, Republicans in the Senate were like, you know what, we're probably not going to pass this anyway. So I feel like this week we'll find out if that's going to pass the Senate. I feel like it's not going to, since Mitch McConnell said he doesn't like it. But like, this needs to happen. Like, it needs to be investigated. Look at January 6th as like your you were cheated on. And now in order to get back to normal, like that person has to earn their trust back. Like that person has to prove that they're not unfaithful and do whatever it is that like you need to move on. So that's how the Republican Party should be operating, but they're not. They're trying to cover it up. They're trying to move past it as quickly as possible to avoid accountability, to avoid investigations, because we will find out some interesting stuff if there are investigations, of course. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen. Again, like everything is complicated and nuanced, and both things are true at the same time, but I guess we should be excited about more Republicans in Congress voting to investigate the January 6th commission. And I don't know what's going to happen now, but that's how I feel. I would love to hear how your rep voted. So when I first started this podcast, I thought people would be really mean. I thought like angry men would find it and then send me mean DMs. And that like really doesn't happen at all, thankfully. So I think I was like a little bit closed off because I didn't want people to be able to get to me, like hurt me or whatever. But like people don't really do that. It's way more nice people. Like mean people wouldn't bother, like hate listening to this podcast. It's like, you guys are here. So I want to talk to you. So if you're comfortable, I would love if you would fill out, there's a Google form in the bio, and it's just like a vibe check. I will read you what I put on the form. You do have to, you put in your email, you can put in your name and your pronouns, first name is fine, your house district, and if you don't know your house district, there's a link to figure out what it is. And then I want to know like what you're dying to share, like whatever it is. No wrong answers. But like examples would be like upcoming elections. Like, do you have somebody running in 2022 that you hate or that you love? Like self-care favorites, ways to get involved, stories about your worst ex-boyfriend or your cranky uncle. Like really, anything goes. And then can we reach out for more details? Like, do you if it's a crazy story that needs more elaboration, like can we email you and get more details? Or like even, do you want to come on the show and talk about it? And then ask us anything, and then that's it. That's the whole thing, and then you're done. But I would just love to know like where everybody is and what your house rep is doing. You know, like are they one of the 147 people who voted against certifying the election results? Like, then we got to get them out. Are they cool? Are they good? Are they one of the rare Republicans who will speak out against Trump? Oh, and like part of the reason that I asked is because Rodney Davis, who is my former rep from Central Illinois, he sucks. He sends out like a really inflammatory newsletter every week, and I hate it. Somehow he was voted most bipartisan member of the Illinois delegation, which I don't understand. But he voted in favor of the January 6th commission, which is really interesting and makes me think that he's going to try and run for governor. And we think that's what Adam Kinzinger is going to do too, which scares me because like the chances of a moderate Republican being elected to that seat is like low, right? So anyway, I would just love to hear from everybody. I was scared in the beginning that like it was going to be hard to, I don't know, connect with people because I wouldn't know who was going to be mean and who was going to be nice. But like that is so silly. Everybody is so nice. And who cares about the mean people? So if you want to fill that out, I would love to know what everybody is up to. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet because it hasn't happened yet, but I'm doing another secret spy thing this week, and I will tell you about it next week. I'm pretty excited for it. And to give you guys another thing that I would like really, really love to hear more about is like what kind of legislation is moving through your states. Also, oh, did I tell you guys we got downloads in South Dakota? So whoever reached out to their South Dakota friend and was like, hey, you got to listen to this, like I love you so much. Also, now we have listeners in every state, and I do think we should, start casually planning taking over the United States government, but like for good. And by good, I mean like in a positive way, not like forever, like through democracy, but with like compassionate, scientifically literate leaders. I really want to know what's moving through. I mean, like, I know what's moving through some states, that scary stuff. There are abortion bans, like 6-week abortion bans in some places. Not kidding when we say we're headed towards Handmaid's Tale Island with Tucker Carlson 2024. Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, and now even Rodney Davis a little bit, are trying to steer that boat out of that whirlpool and back towards like an actual multiracial, multi-ethnic democracy. So I want to know what's moving through bills in your house. All the legislative chambers in the states and all the sessions, like legislative sessions, are slightly different, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. So I'm going to tell you what's moving through Illinois. I'd love to hear what's moving through where you live, and like if you live in a state that has a split legislature or like a Republican governor and Democratic like chambers, or the other way around. Is anything moving in your house? This is technically the second to last episode that will come out before Illinois' legislative session ends on May 31st, but I think there's probably not a lot you can do right at the end like that. So this week is probably like our last chance to make sure that our representatives know how we feel. There is a link in my link tree to find your elected officials. But honestly, like a Google makes it pretty easy, but I do put the link in my link tree, which is in the bio of everything, if anybody wants it. It's also, I think it's just like linktree.com/foryourmisinformation. It's linktr.ee/foryourmisinformation if you're ever looking for it. But there's like lots of helpful links there. All the way at the bottom, there's the Gaslit Nation Action Guide and Gaslit Nation Reading Guide, which are really, really great. But there is also lots of like our favorite newsletters, like Heated from Emily Atkin or Popular Information from Judd Ledgum. What am I trying to find? You can find your house rep. There's also links to bystander intervention training, which is always good. I mean, like that's never not going to be helpful. Oldest Profession newsletter, which I love. Okay, and then you can send notice to your elected officials asking them to repeal parental notice of abortion. There's a link to an email form that you can send if you live in Cook County. Sorry, this is specific to Chicago. To make Indigenous Peoples Day a holiday instead of Columbus Day. That might actually happen. We're trying to send 1,000 emails to the Cook County commissioners before like the 24th or the 25th. Anyone can send them, but it is about changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day for Cook County, which would be cool. And then there's also an action you can take to contact your elected officials, really your senators, telling them that we need a January 6th commission because there was a mob that sought to overturn the election results, and that most successful coups happen after, an unsuccessful coup that was actually just like a training mechanism. Cool. Light and breezy. I want this podcast to be fun. I have ideas. Don't worry. And also, I guess I should say, Morgan's the fun one, I know. And she's not going anywhere. It's just been really hard for us our days are opposites. she gets up early, usually goes for a run, goes to work, and then we have maybe like half an hour or an hour overlapping right after work before all my meetings start, because all the like organizing meetings and stuff like that happen in the evenings. And then I stay up really late. So our days are total opposites. Obviously, like, I'm going to keep making time to talk to her, but it's just been so hard to record episodes with her because I either do them like late at night or like in the middle of the day. But I promise to try and keep being fun also. But yeah, you can tell them that we need, tell your senators that we need a bipartisan commission because, you know, democracy is important. These are the bills that I've been keeping my eye on. I am not sure if all of them are still moving through committee, but like there's whatever. You can still contact your elected officials and say like, hey, I care about reproductive rights. I want to make sure that you don't ever vote in favor of like restricting a woman's right to have an abortion or something like that. Like, you don't have to necessarily be talking in terms of a specific bill, but it does help. All right. So in terms of reproductive health, there is Senate Bill 818, which is the Keeping Youth Safe and Healthy Act. This is the one that anti-abortion people are trying to make sound scary by like hypersexualizing kindergartners and stuff, and that's just like not what's going to happen. They're going to talk about consent and boundaries and stuff. SB 2190 is repeal parental notice of abortion. So that is the last abortion restriction in Illinois. And it is really important, like now more than ever, to get rid of that because I guess this is probably something that happened since I recorded last too. The Supreme Court indicated that it's might, make changes to Roe. Also, fuck you, Susan Collins, for saying that this wasn't going to happen. God. Ugh. But since that might happen, since Roe might get overturned or severely weakened, what would happen is some states would become abortion deserts, mostly in the South. People would have to go from, like, the average trip to an abortion clinic would go from like 35 miles to like hundreds of miles. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. We're moving backwards. Everybody should be on alert. The other states that have expanded abortion protection, they will become abortion havens. So people will go there to have their abortions. It's just another barrier to put in place, and it helps nobody. The only people it impacts are people that it harms. And it's not how it's not how we should be spending our time legislating because it doesn't work. And people who think that way shouldn't be making our laws. But Illinois should become even more of an abortion haven because right now abortion is protected, but like I said, we have some restrictions, and then also it's not expanded. We could expand it, but repealing parental notice of abortion is a really good start. So that's Senate Bill 2190. Senate Bill 967 is a bill about maternal mortality, so that's good. Those are the reproductive justice ones I've been looking at. For criminal justice, HB 1064 would abolish life without parole for children and would abolish life without parole for children and emerging adults, so that's great. Senate Bill 1976, I think this one might have actually just passed. But it establishes a point of contact for people who want to reach their loved ones in the prison system and are having trouble. So I think that passed unanimously. So that's good. I mean, who would argue with that? People need to be able to it's hard. I don't know if you've ever tried to write a letter to somebody in prison or get on a list to visit somebody in prison, but it's really hard. They have to know a lot of information. But it can be confusing. So it's nice that there's a point of contact. HB 3564 would restrict the use of solitary confinement. Again, these are in the Illinois legislature right now, which ends May 31st. Senate Bill 667 is the Illinois Way Forward Act, which would tighten restrictions passed in the Illinois Trust Act, which prohibit law enforcement from cooperating with ICE in detaining immigrants and refugees. So that is Senate Bill 667, the Illinois Way Forward Act. Senate Bill 2054 is the Restorative Sentencing Act. HB 2784 is one that I'm really excited about. So this is Cesa, Community Emergency Services and Support Act. So this is what would establish, instead of like, if you see somebody having a mental health crisis, instead of calling the police, you could call Cesa. And they would be able to dispatch like a mental health professional instead of, an armed person who is really aggro and might have like gotten in a fight with his roommate that day and just be like not in a space to be doing this. Everything is so arbitrary. So Cesa is something I'd be really, really excited about. Again, so it's House Bill 2784 and Senate Bill 2117. So that one, I would be thrilled to see that go through. HB 2399 is elder parole, which is just like a humane. It creates an avenue for people serving life terms of natural life imprisonment to like petition for earned reentry, which is parole, after serving 20 years and reaching age of 60. So it's working towards like restoration back into their communities, giving them an incentive to lead like more fulfilling lives for folks that are incarcerated long term. All right, so those are the criminal justice ones. For gun reform, there are two, the bio bill and the fro bill. So bio is black illegal ownership, and that would close loopholes, for background checks. It would make it so that like if you buy guns privately or at gun shows or whatever, you can't. You also need a background check. It's how people avoid getting those. And then FRO is Firearm Restraining Order Act. I think that's the one that would close the boyfriend loophole and make it easier for people to get restraining orders against people that they're afraid of. In terms of housing, Senate Bill 2445 offers, it's called the Build Illinois Homes Tax Credit, and it offers legislators an opportunity to contribute to the effort by reducing the state tax burden on owners that qualify for low-income housing. So housing is a really important thing to focus on. And then the last ones are, we've talked about before, so those are the environmental justice ones. So CEJA, Clean Energy Jobs Act, the one about lead pipes. I think we are one vote away, if the counts are right now, from passing that lead pipe act to get lead pipes out of Illinois. And then the justice and permitting is to make it easier for like health organizations to deny a permit if there's something, if it's like unhealthy, just like what's going on with General Iron. All right, so that's what's going on in Illinois. I would love to hear what's going on wherever it is that you live. Please tell me, but also there is nothing off limits. I would love to hear anything that you'd be willing to share. Anything that like you were listening to an episode and you were like, oh, I have a story that I think Katie would like. Like, you're right. I would like it. I would like to hear it. And if you submit it in this form, they'll all be in one place, which is dope. Okay, I think that's it for me this week. Tell me what is happening where you live in that Google form in the bio. I hope everybody has a lovely week. Our foster kitten Beanie is going to be 8 weeks old on Tuesday, which I don't understand. Also, she's still like just so floofy, but I think her eyes are starting to turn from like blue to green. All right, I will talk to you guys next week. Hey piggies, are you excited for the midterms? Thank you guys so much for listening to For Your Misinformation. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast, and if you like it, give us a rating and a review.
It helps us find more listeners, and the more of us there are, the better. And make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at FYMI Pod.
Shout out to Ben Schlofelt for the audio production, Hope Dye for the podcast art, Kyle Dibdahl for the intro and outro music, and Adam Roston, who edits these videos every week so you can watch them on YouTube.
We come out with new episodes every Monday.